How you doing? Good. Good morning.
That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Good to see you. Quick question. Did you go to the mayor's conference in Washington?
No. It's not until mid-February. Oh yeah, there was one this past week. I was out in the week been out of town.
Okay.
All right.
Good morning. I realize it's been 2 weeks since we've last met. Certainly last weekend with the holiday gives us a lot of things to talk about. Number one, which was the Friday before that holiday weekend. What I'm wearing here, very proud to have that with the fire service. Went and spent the day with them. Apparently this was all of Jenny's very clear that this was a gift from all of the senior leadership there. But I'm very proud to have this. This was a big day for me. I enjoyed being a part of it and spending the day with them. And I really appreciate the senior team. At least I said I needed to wear this and wear it proudly. So I appreciate them getting this for me. So I felt like part of the team and part of the fire unit there. We had a real good experience. I did some training, went out on a call, went and visited nearly all the stations, looked at Station 3, which is right by my house, the one on Summit Boulevard. Great day. One of the things we did go on a call with the Station 4, that's the training one over in Warrington. They get a lot of calls, a lot of elderly in that area having to respond to different health issues. I was on one of those calls, and they did a great job. The lady was having a stroke. We got there. EMS also did a fantastic job getting there. They were taking care of her and getting her to Baptist Hospital. But one of the challenges, and that was the third call they had made to that senior assisted living area, Inglewood on Cervantes, and it was 10 o'clock in the morning. That was the third call they had made to that place for medical calls. But one of the challenges I promised them that I would do, and it was great teamwork watching and riding with those guys. They do an unbelievable job because of what's going on when you see things when you're driving. But please pull over. If you see somebody with, if you see the fire truck, police truck, ambulance with sirens, please pull over. I could not believe how many people were pulling out in front of us. And I said, is this a normal occurrence? And they said, unfortunately, it is. Again, there was a lady we were responding to that was having a stroke. Every second counts, and we certainly don't want to get in an accident with you. So if you hear the fire siren, please pull over to your right and wait for that to pass, and then you can go about your way as we're trying to get to what we're trying to get to, a health issue. But a lot of great things going on at the fire service. Again, it was a great day. It really exposed me to some of what was going on. I really saw what our team does in training. I was incredibly impressed by the officers we have and the senior management and what they were doing with at least the training section. Met several individuals who were new recruits. A couple of them were coming up. One of them was about to get a promotion. I think on Tuesday he started as a lieutenant. So it was exciting to see, and it's good to see the young people advance. So I was very happy about that. We had the Martin Luther King weekend. There were a lot of great things here. Great parade. I was more impressed. I went to the breakfast that morning, but it was the Living the Dream that night. There were several individuals across City of Pensacola and Escambia County that received a number of awards, and it's exciting to see both black and white, both individuals who are working hard to bring our community together and make us operate as a holistic community. So I thought that was a great weekend as well, a lot of fun. Then last week was a very interesting week. We spent a lot of time dealing with our ST engineering. You probably saw the article. I see Jim out there writing on. There were a couple things that I did wish to clarify. The interest that was taken, and I have it in my notes on my phone. And Jim, I may have given you bad information, so I'm not going to blame you for what you wrote. But I was told I was corrected. I was corrected in what I was supposed to say. The short-term bridge financing, the cost, which are paid as a part of the project cost. It does not impact the airport base rate in any way. I think I said the short-term bridge financing was coming out of airport operation. That it was not correct, but that was I probably said the wrong thing in there. Mike Maroney corrected me, and he said, no, it's a part of the, those bridge costs are a part of the project cost, and they do not impact the airport operation directly. So I was incorrect in what I said on that. But we are all is good on that one as we move forward. We have the expectation to go to the city council. We've met with 3 city council members. We are still efforting to meet with the remaining 4. I've talked to all 5 county commissioners personally, and we are beginning work with our individual Triumph members in advance of next week. Obviously, we have the city meeting on Wednesday. We will ask for $5 million from LOST from the city. We'll go Thursday to the county and ask an additional $5 million. That would raise up to 10, and then we'll be looking to go to Triumph and ask for 15, which would get us that 25. We also met last week, had a very good meeting in Chipley with Secretary of DOT. We also met with CFO Jimmy Petronas, and overall, we felt like we had a very good meeting in Tallahassee. We also met with Representative Andrade and Senator Broxson, both of whom were very supportive and were willing to put forward initiatives from the city for support of Project Titan. And it does appear that while we may not be able to make a heavy lift this year because of obviously what's going on with Michael, there is an expectation that we should be able to slide this into the work plan in the 5th year out at the end of the work plan, and be able to at that point secure the needed money and do some bridge financing, which I just indicated beforehand that we will be doing. So if we do all that, we think we will get up to the $210 million. We think we're very close. Obviously, a lot's going to depend on that first week of February, as well as what we continue to work with Secretary Gaynor and the new Secretary of DOT, who is also in Chipley that day and was aware of the project from us talking with CFO Petronas, and was aware of what's going on. So we generally got fairly positive signals from the state. They can't do it this year, but they could get us in the work plan, and they will be working to get us the remainder of the funds that we need as we move forward. So at this particular time, we feel, if we can just make these things happen, we hope to get we hope to land Titan, no pun intended, at the airport. So again, these are the things that are going on. This week, what we'll be doing, obviously, some of you, I know the News Journal and some of you others have commented about SCAPE being in town today and tomorrow to talk about the waterfront. I will be meeting with them later this afternoon and tonight, and I will be back again to meet with them tomorrow. I think they're having something about Bruce Beach and making sure that we incorporate the African American history into that, into whatever we come out of Bruce Beach, and we're very adamant about that. It's our hope to again at some point go to Tallahassee and begin to see what we can do to further recognize our African American history. There's one thing I forgot. Speaking of that I forgot to say about the Martin Luther King weekend. That same Friday, we had a great was great putting up the historic marker from the Blues Trail at the basically at Belmont de Viller. I know several of you were there, so I saw you, but it was a great event for the city. And I think it just goes to show what we've said in the beginning. We have not done a very good job of telling stories of minorities, both African Americans and women in this community, and we're going to continue to try to do a better job. I think that was one where we got two. We talked about Gussie's record store for a woman and also an African American. So we continue to do a better job of telling those stories, and we're going to do so in the future. That's kind of where we are and what we've been doing. And I know you've probably got several questions yourself, so I'll be happy to answer.
What's the dollar amount you expect to get next year from
MassDOT? For Project Titan? Okay. We have an allocation that is set up of $25 million. Most of that, I believe, comes in year 2020, which will be so from this specific year and what's going on. I think we have a $25 million request, most of which will come in 2020, and I think we have a couple from there. Chris, do we have?
Well, the work program, if you want the specifics, I can give you the spreadsheet. But as you said, the first year that it tops in the work program for the first $25 million is 2020 at $8 million. And
Okay, Chris, hold on. 2020 is going to be 8 million.
2021 is 14.
2021 is 14.
2022 is $1 million.
2022 a million.
And 2023 is $2 million.
And 2023 2 million. So that's the bulk of. And again, if we get Triumph money in, the 56 million to begin with, and what we have from both ST and the local government, at least the city's portion, we should be able to do what we need to in stages and be able to go without having the challenge. Where we have the challenges in year 3 and 4 as we move out. But that's going to be our biggest challenge.
So is that 25 is already allocated, but you're looking for more in addition to that in years 3 and 4?
Correct. Well, actually, 4 and 5, more like 5 and 6. It'll be 2023. I did this the other day. 19, 20. Yeah, 23 and 2022, 23, 2023, 24. If we do 10 million in each of those 2 years, what we can do, we can do the financing through the project. We just need to be able to get it at the end of the work plan.
So the optimism not agreed to, in fact, but the optimism is that next year you might get a $20 million total commitment from them for subsequent years, in addition to the 25 that's already allocated.
Correct. And just, I know that there were several people commenting, not being able to hear some of the questions. The question was, they were watching us, the question was that we would be able to get, this is an additional 20 above and beyond the 25. And again, we won't be looking at this money until 2022, 23, and 2023, 24. So in my mind, because of all those dates and all those 20s, it's easier for me to think of year 5 and 6. That's the way I think of it in my mind. And as you heard Chris say, most of what we were collecting already will be years 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this would come at the end of what we were doing.
And the bridge financing would be to carry us through to that.
Correct.
Years 5 and 6.
Correct. Because we'll probably come up short in years 3 and 4 is where we have a little bit of the shortfall. So we just got to get a year or 2 of bridge financing.
Mayor, the number one criticism we hear about ST Engineering that the government cost per job is too high. Have you heard that criticism, and what's your reply to it?
And here's my reply to it.
So you have heard the criticism?
No, I mean, you hear it all the time. I mean, again, there's several things that are here. What I would say is, I would look at immediately, this is all going to be public infrastructure. All of it will be owned by the city. It'll be the tarmacs and hangars that could be used for whoever's there. The other part is, this is an industry that has been said, I know when I came back here in 95, Rick, I mean, I know you've been here for a while, people have been saying this is an area that we should compete in. Yet we have no aviation in this area. We have not been players in the aviation market. Part of it, we do have the separation of people leaving the Navy and the Air Force, but we have not done a good job of providing the jobs out there, plus the training. The thing that excites me most about ST is the opportunity to come out in the training. And when you talk to them, they realize that not everybody they train will be able, I mean, some of them will go to, some of the people they've employed for a while will go work somewhere else, and they'll always have to be, they'll have some attrition they'll have to be picking up. So they know they're going to have to train 50% more than what they're going to need themselves. So we're going to become a center for really for training in aviation and mechanics. And I think, if we get the labor, if we get the talent, to me, where we go in economic development of the future is where you can get the talent. And so we've got to be training ourselves. We've got to be getting ourselves ready to go for those jobs. The most exciting part to me is the program that they've been doing in Mobile and going into the high schools, even down to the middle schools, is going to be coming to Pensacola. And I've seen it. They're going to run it out of Washington High School is going to have that program at the high school level. But they are looking at all the schools that inflow into Washington from the middle and into the elementary. And so most of your schools in the city will be a part of that plan. There'll also be some in the county, obviously. But again, all of those schools will be having the opportunity to go through the aviation, which I think will begin to make us stronger as we figure out how to get people training. Now, again, not everybody's going to be in the airline industry, but if we have some people that are trained for those skills, there'll be plenty of opportunities for us to build. Is what we've said, when we get a manufacturing job, it leads to, I believe it was about another 2.5 jobs in the, that's what the study showed. I think our 1,300 jobs spins out to about 4,200 jobs. So there are going to be other jobs that come out in the market that we don't know how they come about, but they'll be there. I'm a big believer in what we did at Navy Federal at the county, and I think we're reaping the benefit of that. Now, there are opportunities now for people to do startup jobs. I mean, when I came out of college, when I came back here and I was 25 years old, there was hardly anybody here because there was no real jobs for individuals of that age. We will have office jobs. We'll now have manufacturing, mechanical jobs for you. We will have opportunity for you, and I think this is all going to be important to creating a vibrant city. I'm not saying, again, my hope is that eventually, once we get the talent, we'll be able to attract and be better, and it won't just be in Pensacola. It'll be all of Northwest Florida will benefit from this, and that's what my belief. I think at some point you're going to see the airports in Okaloosa County and in Bay County also benefit from this, and we will start to build that whole sort of corridor that we've always thought we could be in aviation. It's going to have to start somewhere. This is the hardest lift is getting that first one in, and we got the first hangar done. Everybody said, "Oh, well, okay, you got one hangar. What happened there?" Well, now we got the chance to get 3 more. I mean, if you just do these little things, opportunities break for you. So again, I think we have that opportunity. If we do that, we've gone from 1 hangar to 3 hangar. When I look at Navy Federal, I remember they were in 1 building, then they were in 3 buildings, then they wanted to do a mega campus, and we're almost at 10,000 employees. And it really, I know there are challenges that growth creates, but I think we're doing it the right way, and I think that's one of the strongest things about the airport having this is, for the most part, that's not trying to encourage greenfield. I mean, that's really bringing it back into the core. We already have all the roads developed into that area. We have the infrastructure there. So again, I think this is a workable and actually makes things that are inside the urban area more attractive for people to live, and I hope it will generate better jobs, better economic opportunity, which will spin out to better recreational amenities and a variety of other things for people that live in our area. I'm sorry I got long-winded on that, but I am very passionate. I see what we did at Navy Federal, and I believe this is the right thing for us to do. And I realize it's expensive, but we're leveraging a significant amount that came from the oil spill, and the state is helping us get involved.
Mayor, what's the next step in the soccer complex situation? And were you surprised at some of the reactions from some of the residents?
Surprised? No. I mean, this happens at everything I've done, and we've been a part of whenever we've made change. I've made a commitment from the very beginning that we will do whatever we need to help mitigate the circumstances. I've realized there's traffic problems on Langley. I'm willing to address those, and I've told them. I said, let's do that. We're looking right now. We had a really good meeting. I'm not sure if we had. That's another thing that's happened, and I didn't even realize we had that meeting with the neighborhood association that Brian Cooper, our Parks and Rec director, went to. And at that meeting, he found several things that they had concerns about. There was a list of about 10 items, and we are going through right now. We've sent it to Mott McDonald, who's our engineer, and we're looking. We're going to see if we could take 2 of the fields and make them smaller, because that way we only need 1 large field and that's kind of what we would planned on, 1 large field for the age that was there, and then the other fields could be broken down at other smaller ages. So is there an ability for us to maybe move and get a little bit more consolidated so we don't get into the trees? We're looking at a variety of things that we could do, whether it's a traffic signal or perhaps a roundabout that will traffic calm and slow people down. We're also looking at a 4-way stop at Lee's Way and Langley. So again, we're happy to look and evaluate everything that we can do. The biggest challenge I've got is these things always happen. People say this is going to be the end of it, and I get it because it's difficult. It's something changed. But I told several people, I said, okay, based on your thing, you said 800 just coming in for a weekend for a season. That seems like it's going to ruin everything. I said, what if I told you there was a quiet neighborhood and they were told that there was going to be this sports complex built right next to them. There was going to bring 5,000 people a night, and they lived on a little 2-lane road. And what was going to happen to them and all the horrors that could be there, and surely their property values would go away. Well, the good news is we don't even have to talk about another community or anything else. It happened right here across the street. you go look at the values of Port Royal from where they were before the stadium was built to where it is now. People come in here, 5,000 people a night. They find a way to get in and out. And they're on a little 2-lane road, and it's managed to work out fairly well, and their values have done well. I'm not saying that the people in Scenic Heights are going to appreciate as much as Port Royal, but what I am saying is people like living where there are amenities. You may live there and you may not want children, but at sometime when you are going to sell, somebody is going to say, this is something where I would like to have where my kid could be, or a variety of other things. I'm convinced if we have amenities and we make sure we minimize impacts, we are going to be very successful in neighborhoods, and that's what we want to do. We did have our first town hall. I guess I meant to say as well, some of you were there. That's a focus. We're going to make it neighborhoods. We're already beginning that process. But the same thing we want to do for Scenic Heights, and we're listening to those individuals, and we're going to try to find a way to mitigate it. But to simply say we can't do anything, that's difficult. And one of the challenges is a lot of what their challenges is dealing with. They would like the United Way to be, the YMCA to be there. The problem for the YMCA is they have an opportunity not to have to rebuild a basketball court and a pool, because they have one that they can partner with that would be much better for services. And it's probably, I haven't driven it. I know it's less than a mile as the crow flies, but it's probably about a mile and a quarter down the road. I'm very sensitive to the fact that there are neighborhood children that are at Scenic Heights School. If we have to find a way to work to make sure that they have transportation back and forth from going to the Y, I want them to still be able to utilize the Y. All these things are things we can look at and we can continue to do. But what we can't do is find a way to put the pool and the basketball court where the current YMCA is. That's the problem that we have right now. And it's the Y's problem too. That's why they want to move. That's why they like this deal. I told the people before, if the Y didn't want to make this move, then it would be very easy. We wouldn't even be discussing it. But it's in their favor as well. They want to do it. We see the favor of it, and we believe in the long run we can make it better for all neighborhoods.
Are the old soccer fields that are not being used right now, 29, even a contender for conversation?
Those are county soccer fields, and we want a city recreational project for people who have city. If you want to go do the county thing, I understand there's that's like the travel leagues and other things. If you want to do that, and that's kids, then you can travel all the way out there and you can be a part of that. What we want to do is have something that, again, our youth in the city can do. It's the same thing. Somebody said, go put it out at Osceola. I said, that's not conducive to the remainder to the people in the city of Pensacola. So this is a city rec league for citizens of the city of Pensacola, and we want to make sure it's convenient to as many of them as possible.
You mentioned the community meeting in Town Hall at Woodland Heights.
Mm-hmm.
It just struck me as I was listening to that Town Hall, and you're talking about public safety and lighting and people feeling safe in the neighborhood. And I know, Admiral, you were there and asked some questions. And, the very next day from that meeting, you have this major drug raid happen right behind there at the Pensacola Village, almost to highlight the issues of what's going on in that community. Care to comment on where we're at in that vicinity?
I can't comment as much on what actually happened, but I do know that we did a raid, and I do know there are challenges. There were specifically mentioned about crime and safety in that neighborhood, and it really is a very nice neighborhood. I walked in that neighborhood when I was campaigning, a really nice neighborhood, but there's no doubt that there are, and again, I want to be very clear that when I say this, there are a lot of people that live in the Pensacola Village that do everything and are the right way and everything else. There are a few people there that have the intent of not complying with everything we want to do, and obviously if you don't comply with the law, we will, that's why we have police. Unfortunately, I wish we didn't have to have a police department, but some people do not comply with the law. But it's our job to provide public safety. So those individuals who are threatening that public safety, we did have raids over there, which are for not only the people in Woodland Heights, but certainly the individuals who live inside the Pensacola Village that live the right way and do everything the right way. Jeremy.
The Complete Streets committee and ordinance that you guys are shooting for, what do you envision that process looking like? And
Okay.
how willing is the city, how far is the city willing to take this?
The question was about complete streets, and one of the things I keep wanting to wait for the for everything to come back from the transition team, I think that's going to be the direction. That's going to really set a plan that I think begins to orient us where we're going to go. And I would like to be able to get that digested and get it to council. I do believe that's where we're headed, to complete streets. I think there's clearly a concern in what we've seen, a growing sentiment that people want to be able to bike and walk, and not just do it for recreation, but actually do it for ease of transportation, a variety of other things. But there is a safety concern. I think we've had a number of individuals, both in the city and just outside the city in the unincorporated county area, get hit by vehicles in the last month and a half. I mean, it's unreal how often it's happened, but I think it's highlighting the need that this is something we need to go to. So from our standpoint, we are going to be looking at that. Now, I do know that Chief Leiter was at a convention also since the last. He serves on the Florida committee that deals with bike pedestrian, and there are some things that we can be doing. That we have some very good news for West Cervantes that are looking to be implemented, and the state indicated that we can get some money for. So we are working with Chief Leiter, and we're going to look to implement those. But I think the long-term strategy is not just West Cervantes. I mean, it's the entire city, which I think really needs us to move in that complete streets area. We're hoping to finish very shortly. I think we debuted it here about the diet that we were going to be doing from basically Gadsden, on Palafox Gadsden down to Wright Street. We will soon be, I think that's supposed to be coming forward to us, and I'm looking back there, Derek saying yes. We looked at it. We're looking to both add bike lanes and more parking, which I know is something everybody loves. They want more parking downtown, and they want to make it more bikeable and walkable. So we are doing that. We've spent some in that same area. We spent did some construction helping the sidewalk and putting a few things in with the crosswalk. So again, it's our whole goal to make that area more bikeable, more walkable. People during the campaign said that loud and clear, and I think you will be seeing it coming out. I don't take anything away from the committee, but I absolutely believe that's where they're going to be going. The transition team.
The city last week posted a list of sidewalks, a sidewalk audit, if you will, of all the sidewalks in the city, and there were a large number that scored very low on like ADA compliance, that type of thing. Does the city have enough money to maintain its infrastructure?
We probably don't have enough to do everything that we're going to be doing, but we're gonna move through it. I mean, we're gonna make improvements as we can. We can't do it all tomorrow, but I mean that's something we would get with Derek and we would begin to put in there. One of the things that we think needs to happen is we think the state of Florida at the DOT level should eventually start putting in more money for bike pedestrian. But I can only fight so many battles at once with where we are and what's moving forward. At this point, we're trying to take care of Project Titan, and we're going to come back in this. But I think for us, we need to get ourselves situated with where we go with complete streets, and then I think we go to Tallahassee and we begin to say you need to put more money into bike bed. When I was at the county, that's exactly one of the things we said. If we expect that at $350,000 a year for bike ped for the 2-county area and a mile of sidewalk, if there are no significant impacts, costs $250,000. That means we do 1 mile, a little over 1 mile per year in a 2-county area. That's never going to catch up with what we need to be doing. So there are certainly challenges. Part of that is going back and fixing stuff in the past. So we are on that. It's my understanding we met with DIB and where they are with redoing Palafox. I mean, we have some challenges there, and we need to reset that sidewalk. So we've got a variety of things that we're working on. Walkability is one of those things we want to do. But we can only get so much done over a day, and we're going to keep plugging along and making progress.
Do you know how that audit came about and what your immediate action plan as a result?
Derek, do you have a comment on that?
The audit came about through a process to inventory the sidewalks that we had to improve that inventory because it was outdated. And as part of that, we wanted to make sure while we were in the field that we noted the discrepancies or the deficiencies with ADA compliance. So it was a twofold initiative. That way it brought our inventory up to date, also identified the issues that we needed to address to get the current sidewalks up to ADA standards.
For those who might be listening that couldn't hear, the comment was we did an inventory, a normal inventory, and while we did that, we're looking at our own stuff. We made note of ADA so we could do both of those things. So, and I appreciate staff doing that. I mean, we've said we want to be more walkable, where this is a part of us just looking and evaluating that.
How do you triage this problem? Because what you have is you have some places where there are no sidewalks. 9th Avenue stretches, it's very unsafe because of that. Other areas where you have sidewalks that are in good condition, and other areas where they're sidewalks but they're a mess and they need to be repaired. All of these things have costs associated with them. Not everywhere gets used heavily by pedestrians, some places more than others. How do you triage those problems and come to this is where the money needs to go first, second, third?
Well, and I think that's one of the things we want to do. We want to look at some other things. There are apps that deal with both walking and biking that allow you to begin to build heat maps and see where people utilize. Obviously, we take the heat map and we know where we're deficient. It'll tell us the areas we probably need to fix first. There may be some things, some places we may not be able to work on 9th Avenue, and we may just have to tell you, you know what, we got to figure out a way to get you to 10th or 8th and walk around and move through there. Somebody had a discussion with Councilwoman Myers, and I very much appreciate her comment about she wants to road diet all of 9th Avenue. I said, well, if we did that, what we would do is we'd push a lot of cars into East Hill that aren't there right now, and it would be very difficult. Traffic does like to find that's a corridor we want to continue to be the car corridor. We don't want you running up 10th Avenue or 8th Avenue. I mean, that's why you got 9th, 12th, 17th. There are some corridors that we try to funnel you to go north and south so that you're not on every one of those cross streets. It also, if we have everybody going on every one of those cross streets, all of a sudden those yield and stop signs begin to have more and more accidents. So, there are going to be some roads that we like to have traffic on, but that doesn't mean we can't find a way to work with that. Some of it may just have to be we find other walking avenues. I know that was one of the things that I took away from a meeting that Sherry did have. There were some people in the cyclist community that basically said, listen, 9th Avenue, if you could fix some of the drainage issues and you could get some of the lighting done, that would be great. But for us, realistically, thinking it was safe for most people to bike or a variety of other things, let's go to a different road. Save your money, go somewhere else. So again, that's kind of my feeling as well. Not every road is going to be made for biking, but we ought to be able to find a way for you to go from the north side of Pensacola all the way downtown in a safe way. And we just got to figure out what that route is. That's what I think if we start to gain some analytic data as to where people are, it'll really help us figure out where our shortfalls are, and that will point us to things we need to do first. It's going to be about prioritization.
Would it be a possibility that maybe some sidewalks would go away because maintenance is too high and they're not highly used areas?
I would have to sit down with Derek and look at it. I don't know that I necessarily want to go away from sidewalks, but we could see what there certainly may be areas that we may not be able to get to that is not a highest priority.
Mayor, you mentioned in the aviation and manufacturing field that we're trying to imitate what Mobile has done as far as creating training in the high schools and middle schools. We know we have a great facility at Booker T. Washington High School for the maintenance, or an academy for that. Triumph has given a $3 million grant to the school district to stretch it into the middle schools, but Mountain Thomas won't sign the grant. Where we y'all, have you had any conversations with him to how we can get him to get this program going?
I have not talked to him directly on this because I know some of the challenges that are out there dealing with the clawbacks, and it is a little difficult the way some of these things are structured. I still think there are ways we can work through that. I'd like to hope we could continue to work with Triumph on some of those items, but this is going to be critical. I still think the challenge is it's hard to get people serious about the program and getting them involved and getting the education if they don't know where they're going to go to get a job. Case in point, I know we're doing a lot of welding in in Century, and that's great, and I think it's awesome. But all those jobs we're sending those people to, then we're moving them over to Mississippi, and they're doing a great job. Now we're doing a great job helping Mississippi do economic development and train people for that. This is the reason that I think we have to have the jobs at the airport here first. Then we can get the training. Then we can have where we are. Then we can have the talent, and we can move forward. But it's a chicken or the egg thing, and the individuals that somehow think it's gonna magically come without one or the other. I would love to do the education first, but it's hard to do the education if you can't find a place to put that person. It's hard for them to get serious about going and investing in it when they don't have a real future for it here. So I'd rather get them the job. Once the job's here, we'll get them the training, we'll get them in there, and we'll produce the pipeline. That's what we want to do.
But other school districts have had similar grants from Triumph, and they've signed off on it. I mean, we've got a $3 million grant that's been out there over a year to help start getting kids involved, because we do have jobs. They can look at ST Engineering and see there's a job there for them if they can get through the system. And the logjam is at the Superintendent of Schools office.
I have not talked to Malcolm about that. I will be happy to. I'm sensitive to the fact that everybody has to deal with what the clawbacks are, but I tend to agree that I would rather see us moving and taking the risk and trying to find a way to get the kids done. I understand all these things have risk, but some of it is I think we're in the business of taking mitigated risk. If we can figure out and make sure we understand where our shortfalls are, I have no problem with taking risk that we are prepared for. I think taking risk that you just throw out there and you don't know where you're going, that's not a risk we're going to take. But if we know what the things are and the shortfall potentials are, at some point you have to move forward, you have to take some risk.
Did you participate in the port tour?
I was totally planning on being there, but we ended up we'd come back from Tallahassee, and we had a meeting dealing with ST Project Titan was the same at 10 o'clock, so I had to beg off the port tour. But I did do that same tour with Amy. I thought it was very good. I thought Amy said everything that is what we've been saying. We're in the process of finalizing the report. We have gotten a preliminary that was being evaluated, and I think we should have the finalized study from the group that did it fairly shortly. I think more the emphasis came out, and I think she also spoke to this. I think it made it very clear that there is a desire and an ability and a financial way forward for the port to be a part of it. I think what it also is going to say is we have a niche port, and we need to find what our niche is, and then we need to play to that niche. I think those are things that Amy's doing already. I mean, I've been very clear with her. There are going to be some things that just are not compatible with downtown. Those aren't things we want to do. But that doesn't mean there aren't plenty of other things that you can do. And you go back to Workman Middle School, and I said this to Malcolm the other day. I laughed. I told him, I said, everybody keeps talking about, their challenges, and I get it. But I said, you got a school system where you can literally say, if you go to Workman Middle School, you can become the richest man in the world. It has happened. Jeff Bezos went to Workman Middle School. So I mean, you can go to Workman Middle School and become the richest man in the world. So I think sometimes we got to think about it that way, what we can do, and what we do have. So I'm convinced there are a lot of things we can do, and it's awesome having that Blue Origin ship down there, and they're one of the things that are helping our port go forward. Yes.
So I know you're not over at the county anymore, but do you have any thoughts on the conversation going on over there in regards to beach ownership?
It's difficult. I think the challenge that I think if we want to be honest with ourselves, our problem is we're not very honest in our discussions, and there's that helps us, that hurts us in getting to a situation we understand. I think if we are talking about, we sell ourselves on this myth, and myths are incredibly crazy. They do attach a lot of emotional to it, and I think there's this myth that it's all public. Well, actually, a lot of these leases are done out there, and they're renewable beyond that. In fact, that's why the court said they're taxable, because you get them for 99 years, you can renew it for 99 years, and you can renew it for 99 years after that. I mean, that's 298 years or 297 years. If people really think that is public land, then I mean that's all on your concept of public. I guess if you think that's public land, then you feel like it's public. I was never worried about what was leased when I was over there. I was very worried about what was unleased. That was my major focus and what we tried to take advantage of. To me, that is what's public. That is what should be preserved. And I do feel like, if nothing else, more than any time in the history of Escambia County, we did the most to preserve and protect those unleased areas. And I do think, I'm proud of that. I think that's the most critical part about it. I really don't think people are that far apart from what they want to save, but they get hung up on this issue of what's public and what's leased and what's called that. And I think it makes it very difficult for us to find solutions because we do get hung up in this myth. But at the end of the day, the most important part that I would absolutely agree with everybody on there is how we protect those unleased lands. Those to me are public. They're public in use. They're public in everything else. That includes the sidewalks, the crossovers, the beach itself, and all the basically environmental parking lots and preservation lands, preservation, environmental. You're also your conservation, and then your parking lots. You're in your roads. I think that's some of the things people. I know one of the things that's very concerning to that group is that somehow that if it went fee simple, that people would be able to assemble and build large condos in those areas in the Avenidas where you have houses. Well, if you save the roads and you make it so no one can ever do the roads, and again, unlike most places, the roads actually belong to the county there, not like most places where you vacate it and it's somebody else's ownership underneath it. You can't vacate it. It stays public forever. It prevents assemblage and a variety of other things. Again, having been in real estate, these are things I'd thought about. The average person doesn't think about them, and so their worries go around. But I think if you really put it down into it, we're not far apart. I think the most important part is at all costs, we ought to preserve those areas that are unleased, and we ought to make sure that those still remain public. And that's the most vital part of the beach to me.
Any movement on Pensacola?
The ball's in the court of the plaintiff's court at this particular time, so we have not heard back from them. When we hear back from them, we'll move accordingly. All right. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week.